In 1980 I had been meditating for 10 years, which had led to one profound experience of cosmic consciousness in 1975. This in turn triggered my ability to travel with full awareness into other dimensions of reality. One morning, 5 years later, in 1980, I entered a deep meditation and was spontaneously taken into a high state of consciousness, which I described in the last chapter of my book, Multidimensional Man. The whole experience lasted 2 hours. In these 3 videos, I will illustrate as best as I can with words and with images what the experience looked like.
The last chapter from the book Multidimensional Man, read by Stephen Briggs. The Final Journey, 25th of August 1980. Thoughts and Belief Systems. The Journey Continuing.
Mist was not home for very long. I heard a roll of thunder and the air around me began to vibrate. On all sides, shapes started to emerge out of the night. I noticed that I was standing in the centre of a gigantic 6-pointed pattern which rose up around my feet to form a massive, immensely intricate flower, reminiscent of a magnolia. It spread out in all directions, and as it grew, it elevated me to dizzying heights, and before I knew it, I was staring down into the infinite depth of space. But this expanse was not black like our Earth's universe. Myriad spellbinding objects lighted it. Thoughts are curious things, made out of words. Within our physical brains, they appear to be abstract things attached to objects, which in themselves have no substance whatsoever, and are strung together by recollections of meanings. In a sense, we are their creators, and with them we form worlds around us. Until now, I hadn't realized that here they were living physical realities. For a while now, I had been aware of a beautiful entity, like breath, unformed, attached to me with gentle hands, giving me a thrill that pulsated through my new body. The moment I became aware of it, it detached and unfolded in front of me like an enormous bloom. It was love. And now it had become a thought, a detached object I could observe objectively. Its inner life had taken on the pulsating power I had felt earlier, and it spread out and unfolded in the space before me as a large, symmetrical flower. A breath ago it was just a bud, but now it opened into even fuller bloom as I pondered its secret. It was evolving continuously, drawing its life force seemingly from my attention. From its centre, incredibly elegant blooms unfolded on spiralling stems and pirouetted around one another in a joyful dance. The moment they touched, they merged, and showers of golden dust exploded, and other blooms were spawned, even more beautiful than before. This, in turn, initiated a whole generation of blossoms to emerge, forever varying and evolving in abundance. At the centre of the blossom, a core appeared like a fruit, and evolved into an organic shrine, opening its walls with blooms sprouting around its entrance, beckoning me to enter, to rejoin and merge with the love that was so much part of me before. But I was too distracted to enter, as an endless armada of giant thought shapes drifted before me, each vying for my attention. I could pick on any shape at will, and its living reality surrounded me on all sides and offered me its inner secret. Some were gigantic structures, alien and complex, and of beguiling mystery and beauty. Their textures, design and character differed tremendously from thought form to thought form, as did their colours and sounds. It was only too easy to be seduced by any of these shapes and to apprehend their inner meaning. They liked nothing more than attention, and drew their sustenance from it. They were animated by a quest for expression, grabbing sympathetic energy in their path like greedy exotic sea creatures. They wove their way around the alien matter, growing as they grazed on the energies being sent towards them by orbs of light. Some of them formed colonies, covering large territories. I saw the formation of whole ideologies and theories, creating complex worlds within themselves. From up here, I could see countless belief systems at incredibly complex shapes. I saw that once immersed in any of those structures, the perspective of the world changed for good. The centre of the thought felt like the centre of the universe itself. It was difficult to argue against them, each vying for space and attention. It seemed easy for people to become seduced and ensnared by these grand designs, the sheer presence of them, how each thought provided refuge, belonging and identity, because beyond them appeared to be nothing but dark and empty space. How many people, I thought, understand that they have the power to rise above and observe these thoughts for what they are? Temporary resting places, no more than inventions, giving us the illusion that we're in control. And yet, they were as fleeting as clouds. When my interest waned and attention withdrew, they withered away into nothingness. I was fascinated by this powerful display. The passions and energies invested in them made them shine and stand out like grand edifices, singing the glory of their creators, many of them hypnotized by their beauty and artistic perfection. Occasionally, majestic structures drifted through my field of vision with great authority, rolling slowly through the vast deep space like gigantic alien starships, so fast that I could barely see where they finished. Millions of orbs were attached to them, attracted by their sheer size and presence, enjoying the ride and the company of fellow crew members. It was driven by a powerful engine at its centre, which was nothing less than a gigantic star sitting at the top of a magnificent dome for everyone to see. Inside the dome, millions worshipped it like their god. Another big spaceship caught my attention, and this one had the cool beauty of complex geometric ornamentation, joined together skillfully by billions of intricate patterns and shapes like crystals, arranged ingeniously to perfection. When looking for its mode of propulsion, I saw the huge blue orbs of light were its energy source, pulling it along, mining knowledge from the deep mysterious space surrounding it. In its wake, it created new geometric shapes, which were harvested eagerly and absorbed into the structure of the gigantic ship. Any other forms it encountered were probed with purpose and curiosity. Occasionally it unearthed gigantic treasures which reverberated and reconfigured the ship's design and greatly increased its power. Its great authority was undeniable, because it was multidimensionally expanding both laterally and vertically, sending its beneficial energies into the worlds below. Awestruck by its precision, its clear-cut beauty and perfect design, I watched its slow but unrelenting progress and admired the scientific ingenuity of our species to create such grand structures. Its charisma was one of rationality and reason, cool and measured. There were millions of such shapes, some small but evolving and growing, others lumbering and fading into the ocean of billions of thoughts that burst into life, clustering around each other like living creatures. This was an enormous world, a whole universe in itself, the creation of man, gods and creators in our own right. Whereas on Earth my attention could explore each thought only sequentially, here, from a dimension above, freed from the linear programming of the physical brain, I could read each structure in its entirety instantly, simultaneously appreciating its substance and essence. It was impossible not to marvel at these magnificent edifices, their monumental construction and seductive three-dimensional pattern of beguiling symmetry, colour and proportion, woven together with celestial craftsmanship, radiating out from their mysterious centres. Here, on this level, thinking was no longer an effort, but an immense pleasure of observation and detached contemplation, which made it easy to observe the limitations of thoughts themselves. From up here I had a perfect viewpoint. I could zoom in on them and absorb them instantly in their essence. I was in a philosopher's paradise, the world of the human mind, the heaven of inventors, artists, mathematicians, scientists and religious believers. I felt a great freedom in the exploration. Each structure had a reason to be and to exist, just like any other creature in the world. They were products of our species, born out of need and the desire for knowledge and understanding. They were the songs of our thirsting souls. A gentle voice, which I at first mistook for a song, whispered into my ear and prized me from my contemplation. Look upon the playground of the mind. I dare you not to be seduced by it. In all your dreams you won't find greater amusement than this. This gentle voice was posing a question and was attempting, by its very gentleness, to demolish the world I had begun to admire so much for its sheer grandiosity. The imperfections of what I saw began to lose their power to seduce. I felt sorry for my fellow souls who were trapped in them, forever seeking comfort and identity. I could see clearly how passionately they would defend their positions, arguing their point of reality. They would even go to war for it. I studied their irreconcilable differences in frequencies and character. Often their authority was taken only from their size, sometimes from the beauty of their design. It was clear that there could be no clear winner. All their passengers were attached to their systems rather than to the reality of their own individual being. I felt a rush of wind, as if I was flying through the air at great speed, but I was not moving. I heard distant thunder. The world around me began to shift, and I wondered what other sights lay in store for me. The wind was actually a familiar voice whispering gently into my ear. I could not tell the words. It was a different language, not human, but somehow I had the impression of what it meant. It announced that I should prepare myself to visit the penultimate dream of all humanity. The thunder was accompanied by electrical activity around me, and with a thrill I felt the huge lotus flower underneath me growing rapidly, spreading out in every direction until it formed the shell of an enormous celestial structure, large enough to contain the whole universe. I had taken residency inside a grand cosmic temple. The walls were made of liquid light, continually solidifying and transforming into new precious materials, beaming with ever-changing patterns. I could see at once where the architects of the great mosques on earth had received their inspiration. In every direction was an entrance or an exit, yet each was tantalizingly close by. Through each gigantic portal I could glance into the vast vistas of different heavens, infinite landscapes lining the many avenues leading through the gates. Each route out of this cathedral was a highway into another heaven, lined by magnificent arches as if to glorify the approach. The walls of this enormous edifice were cycling through precious materials, casting off energies in the forms of light and patterns of alternating complexities, like a giant exotic sea creature. The temple, if the word is at all appropriate, was alive and was illuminated by countless little orbs, like myself. They sparkled in different colours and permutations of expression, some bright, some calm and sedate, but each individual. Streams of them migrated joyfully through the vast gates, to disappear into the heavens. On closer inspection, I saw that most of them were still attached to shapes they had claimed for themselves in their own worlds, fascinated by their power and drawing strength from them. It was these thought forms that they were still attached to, which would determine the nature of the heaven they would enter. It was clear to me that from each orb's point of view, they must have felt that they alone formed the centre of this sheer, endless space, and that their chosen heaven was the true destiny of every other person on earth. It was easy to see why, because each formed the centre from which the cosmic lotus flower radiated out, and each formed the petal of the adjacent one, so that the whole merged into an infinite tapestry. Humans find their identities here. They spin their webs of philosophies, religions and beliefs. Some get caught in it like a fly in a spider's web. Some use it to spin their dreams and spend many lifetimes to unravel and fulfill them, the voice whispered to me. But my attention had already wandered towards one of these hovering portals, and the temptation to explore one of these vistas was overwhelming. The mere thought was enough to overpower me, and I entered one of the irresistible tunnels, which was huge and bright, lined with impressive columns on either side and above and below. Peering through the columns as I travelled along, I saw the scenery spread out infinitely, and I could have taken any of those side-opening pathways and entered a new heaven of staggering diversity and wonder. People here could spend eternity exploring these fantastic heavenly universes, experiencing their never-ending joys and freedoms, and not getting tired or bored for a single moment. I found myself accelerating through the vaulted tunnels. Occasionally I drifted past hosts of heavenly creatures, like schools of fish rejoicing in song. On all sides new realms opened up like galaxies. I glanced into openings into other worlds, each as vast as the one I travelled through, promising unimaginable pleasures. I was lured from all sides by fine soprano voices, which combined with all the other joyous songs, creating a complete symphony. It was surely here, I mused, that our great earthly composers received their inspiration. But I sailed straight on, past all of these temptations, which could not satisfy my hope that there was something more profound than this. And suddenly there was a pull from another direction. It was I myself. I realized that I had been seduced by a dream, a mere wish, which was only a thought, a possibility, and that reality was far more than this. I was back in the temple. The voice spoke to me again, softly, gently, as if not to disturb my contemplation. "You're right. This world is a grand illusion put in your path to trick you, to keep you fascinated and imprisoned as a limited being. Yet to many people on earth, what you've just seen is the dream of all dreams come true, the heaven of all heavens, and indeed, compared to life on the dense earth, this truly is paradise, where people spend millennia exploring the vast scope and vistas of heaven and its joys." The voice now sounded more human and very close by. I was being guided by a very old friend who faded in and out of my vision. One moment it was a brilliant orb of light, the next a beautiful face materialized, sculpted by a serene sense of humour, boundless compassion and love. Then it faded again, revealing itself as a presence, extending and merging with the surrounding world. The stillness and peace that followed indicated that something was going to happen. Then I noticed that the silence was not silence at all, but was a sound I had had no facility to hear before. A deep boom gave me to understand immediately that all I had seen so far was child's play, that it was time to wake up out of my dream and embrace reality. The presence near me reassured me that I was safe, but that I was embarking on a new dimension altogether for which there was no precedence. The sound I heard was like the Om, I had used it in the past while out of my body, and now I realized why it had always had such a powerful effect. But this was far, far more. It was the sound itself making the sound, which was itself. What happened next was to challenge my human comprehension to its limits. This was unknown territory. I relied on the presence, which was not human, yet like an old friend, a mother and father combined, to guide me. It was an incredibly intimate experience, and I knew it in my soul. I felt trust, absolute and unconditional, so much so that I offered myself in total surrender to the presence. The world around me faded. The sound transmuted into the breaking surf of ocean waves. It was born. I stood on the shores of a vast and glorious ocean. Real ocean waves are made of atoms and light. This ocean was just pure light in essence, as was the sandy beach. The waves came rolling in towards me as gigantic mountains of crashing light, overwhelming me completely. But to put it like this is to do a tremendous injustice, because words cannot describe the transformation that took place inside me as these energies burst into creation and into life, submerging and dissolving me in the process. But these are the limits of my words, and you, the reader, will have to search deep within yourself to perhaps recall the distant memory when you too bathed in the water of life before you were born into earthly existence. There was no fear, because there was only light, and the waves that rolled towards me, crashing through me, lifting me into an unknown ecstasy. There was no letting up. Wave after wave rolled over me, and when I thought I could stand no more, a greater joy swallowed me up and carried me with it into lands of bliss. But as I said, this was not a place for words. Words belonged to a far lower level of consciousness than even thought. And I had left thoughts long behind in a universe that appeared now like a dense darkness of ignorance compared to this. Thoughts are simply of a nature too gross, I realized, too coarse to touch the fabric of the matter tearing and hammering at my soul. There were universes upon universes, each one created by a crashing wave, each one ripped away and destroyed by the next. There was no repetition of universes. Everything was new at every moment. I then realized that everything that had happened was a process of purification of cosmic proportions. When the tide ebbed away, there was immense peace. Nothing stirred. Nothing interrupted it. Until now, I had always been aware in my life of potentiality. This was potential, realized to perfection. But there was far, far more. All stress, need and want had gone. Everything I had strived for had found fulfillment, and whatever I wanted lay there before me in its absolute essence, in total stillness and emptiness combined. But again, of course, the word emptiness is wrong. I had ceased to be. This was unformed, an unmanifested thrill. Until now, I had been bathed in something which could be understood as the cradle or essence of love. But this was far beyond that. It was a super dimension of choiceless love, which was as clear as crystal. All remotely human feelings had been stripped from it and replenished with utter purity. It was pure intelligence, pure consciousness. It was reality in essence. I knew everything because I was everything. No instrument of knowledge was needed because all instrumentality was my own creation. No creation was necessary. I am what I am. I am. I am all. Every one of us can make these statements. We, as a species, are at the heart of creation in essence. Being is at the heart of reality throughout all dimensions and is contained in every moment. It's here in its essence to be recalled at a moment's notice, no matter where we are, because it is the very blood in our veins. Here, stripped of all that I called myself, I was at the heart of nature, at its most powerful, most quintessential. I was omniscient, omnipresent, and infinite. The instant a question was raised, my universal mind had it answered on a level unheard of, guided by universal wisdom, purpose, and plan. When scientists finally probe into the last remaining mystery of the universe, this is what they will find, and nothing will translate into mathematics, formulas, or concepts. All this is vanity. What is life? A thin membrane stretched over a river of ecstasy. Once pierced, your life will never be the same. I dared to raise a question. What is to become of me, the Creator? And just when I thought there could be no answer to my question, I heard new sounds rising from the stillness like flutes opening a white, infinite space below me with shapes and possibilities undefined. An invitation to manifest within realms unknown, with adventures still unrealized and untold. This is reality and truth. Man's true evolution begins here in pure clarity, free of all illusion. The future path of man's destiny starts here, now, to enter dimensions yet incomprehensible and inaccessible because man still carries the burden of his animal evolution and instincts to survive in a limited world. A few have stormed ahead to scout the way, to fathom what lies beyond. I knew I was only at the outer edges of creation, and that beyond waited dimensions too far beyond our human state of evolution. I could travel no further, because this was my true home. I was rocking gently to and fro to a celestial symphony, resting like a baby in its mother's arms, in total trust and surrender, listening to the heartbeat of creation, which rolled through me in waves of ecstasy. I felt I could take no more, and feared that if I stayed on, I would surrender my very consciousness and lose myself in the infinite ocean of pure joy. I did not want this. I had worked for many years to attain samadhi, and when it came, I was unprepared. I had to return. I cannot say how long I was in this region. I felt sanctified. Everything about and around me was beautiful. I felt whole, and holiness was a word which had attained its true meaning for me now. When I came around, I sat on a bench in a large hall, still not in my physical body. My face rested in my hands. I was in a state of recovery and adjustment. My body was convulsed with the after effects of this experience. I tried to control them and get a grip of what I called myself, a curious entity thrown together with molecules and atoms mined from eternity and infinity and endowed with the unit of consciousness that could call itself me. Now it was dressed again in ideas, protecting itself for whatever reason from the light of truth. I am. But what was this I am, separated from its true reality? It was nothing but a thought, a dream, an illusion. I knew it was time to go back to my own familiar territory. I spent a few moments running through the events, knowing that without imposing them on my brain, all I had experienced would be lost. When I woke up, I was slumped over in my chair. I ran once again through the events without moving a muscle. The inside of my head felt like a brightly illuminated hall. I sat in total peace, reliving it all. There was a strong light right at the top of my skull. I smirked when the thought of a cartoon light bulb slipped into my mind. To see the light is an expression we all take for granted, but why don't we remember what the light is? I relished the fact that what I had seen was real and not a dream.